Hey, it's Rich on Black PE, and today's video is going to be all looking at the pre-release information that we've had from AQA, which is our exam board. Now, what that's showing us are some of the topics that are going to be asked, maybe some of the ones that aren't necessarily going to be in the exam in the way that maybe previously we might have revised. So let's get cracking, having a look at this pre-release information. So we have received some information from the exam board that is essentially showing us the topics that may be asked in much more detail, and it's not something that we normally get. So year 11s, you're very, very lucky. So what the information says is that it's giving us a list of topics that are primarily going to be the focus of the exam. It's saying that there may be some multiple choice questions, there may be some short tariff questions of topics that aren't included in the list. So essentially it's preparing us for the much longer ones and the majority of the exam. So let's go have a look at the topics that are going to be on paper 1 and paper 2 to see how you might prepare best, and also my videos going up to the exam will all be around these topics. So if we have a look at paper 1 then, so paper 1's first topic that it says it's going to talk about the structure and the functions of the musculoskeletal system. So basically looking at how the muscles of bones work together and how we provide movement. It's going to look at things like antagonistic pairs, about how muscles and joints work together to create movement. For most of us, that should be relatively straightforward. It's then going to have a look at the structures and functions of the cardiorespiratory system. So this is going to involve things like blood vessels, the mechanics of breathing, so looking at basically how the muscles interact with the bones to create movement so we can actually breathe, and then interpretation of a spirometry trace. So that's a topic that generally students don't find the easiest, so it's not surprised that it's going to be tested on there. However, we've got some really easy tips that we'll be sharing with you in the future videos about how to try and access that the best way. It then goes on to looking at aerobic and anaerobic exercise. So it says the use of aerobic and anaerobic exercise in practical examples of differing intensities. So that's going to be hopefully linked to things like heart rate. It's going to be looking at the fact that anaerobic activities don't last very long, aerobic ones do. Again, going to have lots of videos on that. We then move on to the long and the short-term effects of exercise. And it's saying primarily it's going to be looking at the long-term effects of exercise, which is months and years of exercising. So basically the effects of training over a long period of time. So here it will be things like hypertrophy of the muscles, cardiac hypertrophy, lots and lots of things that are going to take a long, long time to have an impact. So we should be okay with that one. It then goes on to levers, examples of their use in activity and the mechanical advantage that they provide. So an analysis of basic sporting movements. So again, we've got the 3 different lever systems. We've got a way that we can remember what they are. So again, we should be able to help you really, really easily with that topic. We then have the components of fitness and the benefits for sport and how fitness is measured and improved. So it's here talking about linking sport and physical activity to the required fitness component. It's saying about the reasons for and against, or the limitations, I say, of fitness testing. Again, sort of things that have been on lots and lots of exam questions in the past, so we should be able to prepare you for that one. And then the final one, it says effective use of warm-up and cool-down. Basically, how we warm up, how we cool down, why we do what we do, the order that we do things in, and be able to do that. So as far as paper 1, if that was all that was on there, that's pretty good, because it's basically saying there's no planes and axes. Lots of you hate that one. There's not too much about the cardiorespiratory system. So again, areas that people find that a bit more difficult. So it should be a really manageable paper for us. Now, some of the guidance that's out there as well is around the impact that COVID has had in different parts of the country. So I teach in London. We've been fairly lucky, really, with where we've been. So the first lockdowns, things like that, were a bit later for us. But some of you might have been affected really, really heavily. So that's going to have an impact in different parts. So they're trying to make it fairer by sharing this information, but also with maybe how they're going to be grading along the way. Now, Paper 2. Paper 2, we know that paper 2 is about the sociocultural influences and well-being and physical activity. That's always been the case. Now, what it is saying here is that it's going to be asking you about the classifications of skill. So we know that we've got basic and complex, open and closed, so about how they're classified. That should be a bit of a gift for us. It's going to ask us about the basic information processing model. So those of you who obviously know that, we've got input, decision making, output. and then we've got some feedback along the way as well. So again, we'll do some work along that. There are some videos already on the channel. We then got engagement patterns of different social groups in physical activity. So what this is saying is basically why different social groups may participate or not participate, why they may choose certain sports or not, and the different factors that are involved in that. I'd imagine that could be a 6 or 9 mark question because it's quite a meaty topic. We've then got commercialisation of physical activity, so it's going to look at the positive and negative impacts of sponsorship in the media, and also the positive and negative impacts of technology. So that is around all the money coming into sport and how that might have an impact on the game, so more media coming in, more sponsorship. Also about technology, about how that may have positive and negative impacts, things like VAR, things like Hawkeye, things like the ball tracking systems that are used in cricket and tennis, which again is a Hawkeye system. So again, it might be those sort of things that you need to try and focus on, but again, we've already got videos on the channel on those topics. It then goes on to saying that there's going to be some questions around the ethical and sociocultural aspects. So this is things like doping and drugs in sport, about those prohibited substances. So you would need to know what all of them are, who would use them, what the effects are, and around doping as a topic in general. You also need to know the reasons of why hooliganism exists. Again, there is a 9 mark question available on the channel already, so that might be something that you guys want to have a look at. Strategies employed to combat hooliganism, and also think about spectator behaviour. So again, they're the sort of things that have come up in extended questions before. Is it likely that will happen again? I'd say maybe more unlikely than some topics. The final one is about energy use, diet, nutrition and hydration. So nutrition, talking about the role of carbohydrates, fat, proteins, vitamins and minerals in our diet. So again, pretty straightforward. And then the reasons for maintaining water balance. So what we talk about is hydration. So in paper 2, the topics that they are looking at there are quite narrow. There's a lot less of them, but they could be quite meaty and they might come in different forms because there's lots of different perspectives. Now, it may mean that the paper is slightly shifted, it's slightly changed. There is a paper in November 2021 that actually had a 5, a 6 and then a 9 mark question. So remember, this is all for AQA. Edexcel has its own things. Again, we can look at doing a video on that in the future, but all of these things are available online. So just a quick heads up there about the changes that are going to be around in GCSE PE. We know that we've only got to do 2 practical activities this year. One of them does not have to be an individual or a team, so you could do 2 team sports this year, which is fantastic for lots of you out there. So this is providing you with the best opportunity to do well in your exams. Now, if you like and subscribe, if you check out the videos as regularly as possible, means you're not going to miss out on things, because I will upload more and more things, particularly some of the live sessions where you guys can get involved. You guys can get use the super chat. You can use the chat in the lives to try and get the answers to the questions that you guys need. We're also on Instagram, where regularly we do some Q&As to try and get the answers from you, and everything on there is planet_PE. So just check us out, guys. Like and subscribe, and I'll be back very, very soon with the videos that are going to matter for your exam now we know the topics. Thanks for watching.